I during my life review, it was everything that was shown to me, I was able to not just see it, but also feel it. And not just from my own perspective, but from the perspective of those who were involved.
Hello, family. Welcome back to the Explore the Extraordinary podcast. My name's Betty, and today I'm joined by Bubba. And Bubba is a near-death experiencer. He's a motivational speaker, and he's an aspiring author. And I'm really excited for your willingness to come and serve our community at IANDS. I'm going to toss it right over to you. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me on. So, in 2019, I was a Division I baseball player at Jacksonville University, and it was my freshman season, and I was on track to play the game of baseball for a pretty long time. And I went in for a routine elbow surgery. In baseball, it's called Tommy John surgery. And I went in for the surgery, and when I went in, they asked me all these pre-operation questions, and one of which was, "Are you allergic to the anesthesia?" And I had never been under anesthesia before, so I really had no idea what the answer to the question was. So I said no. And the next day, the doctor gives me the rundown on the surgery, and he says, "All right, here's how this is going to work. We're going to put anesthesia in your IV. And by the time we get from where we are now to the operating room, which was about, I don't know, 15 to 20 feet, he said, you should be fully unconscious. You shouldn't feel a thing. In 1 hour, you're going to be done with the surgery. In a year, you're going to be back on the field. And then in 2 years, you're going to be a draft pick." And obviously to me as a 19-year-old kid, I was pumped to hear all that. So I closed my eyes and tried to doze off, and he wheeled me into the operating room. But when I got there, I was assured I was going to be under, but I wasn't. So I just said to myself, well, I mean, they must have done this thousands of times by now. So I'll just wait for it to kick in. And I just closed my eyes. They're approaching me with their, I don't know what the tool is called, maybe a scalpel. And they're about to cut into my elbow. And I get nervous as they inch closer. And then I noticed them pause for a second. And that was a relief to me, because I was like, oh, no, they know I'm not under the anesthesia. They know it hasn't hit me yet, and they know I need more. So, but that wasn't the case. They pulled back because my heart was starting to slow down, and I started to hear panic in their voices, and they were shouting at each other like, "Hurry, we got to save this kid!" And in the flash of a second, I was just floating above the scene, watching as that my heart rate went from beep, beep, beep to beep. And I watched myself on the operating table. I watched my body turn like a bruise like purple, and then this pale corpse like white. And then I watched my own flatline. And immediately after I watched my own flatline, I was shown this movie like scene of every single detail of my life in minute detail, from start to finish. And I was shown parts of my life where things that I did that I wasn't proud of, conflicts within my family. I was shown core memories like this beautiful basketball game I played with my stepdad when I was 12 years old, and it just stuck with me because I had never experienced that type of love from somebody else. It was just this overwhelming sense of love during the game that we exchanged. And I during my life review, it was everything that was shown to me, I was able to not just see it, but also feel it. And not just from my own perspective, but from the perspective of those who were involved. And the life review felt like it lasted forever. And there was a sense of detachment during my life review where I didn't feel like it was my life that I was watching. It was almost like I was watching from an objective point of view. And when my life review ended, I all right. So after I was shown my life review, I was almost not almost. I was pretty upset with what I saw. And the main reason was because I was 19 years old and I died without feeling like I was ready to die. And when I say that, I mean like I saw all of the opportunities I had to tell my family I love them and to treat people with more respect and love, and I didn't. And I couldn't help but feel in my last conscious moments that I was regretful and just not ready to move on because I essentially the way it felt was I wasted the time that I had without making the most of it. So that lasted for, I don't know, there was no time in this place that I was in the life review. I had no concept of time, but it felt like it lasted forever. And again, in my last conscious moments, it was one of the worst moments of my life, just feeling like there was nothing I could do to change anything. And that eventually disappeared though, because then after my life review, I was transitioned into this beautiful, beautiful place where there were beautiful colors of light that are obviously indescribable, but they were every color of the rainbow were combining to make one universal color. And it was crystally. It was almost as if I was viewing the outside world from the perspective of the inside of this beautiful diamond. It was just this magnificent feeling as well. I was time in this place and time was me, and I was everything. Everything was one. It was something that I can't describe. And every time I tell this story, I try to do my best with the details, but it doesn't do it justice. And after a while, I was exploring this place and I was just feeling this overwhelming sense of love. This figure appears, and without communication, without transition, it was a seamless. I was past a basketball, and what it was a recreation of the moment that I just saw in my life review, which was that core memory of the beautiful basketball game I got to play with my stepdad. His name was Mike, and he had passed away 2 years prior to this experience. So he passes me a basketball in this beautiful place, and we play the same game of basketball that we played on Earth, and it was incredible. It was magnificent, and Mike and I were the same thing, and we were communicating but without words. And the basketball game lasted again. No, I had no concept of time, but it felt like it lasted forever. And then he slowly backed away from me, and his demeanor after the game kind of changed, and he got a little bit serious with me, and he was like, "All right, you're here now, but I was sent to offer you something. And the offer is this: you can stay here in this beautiful, perfect place with me forever. And I assure you that our family's going to be okay. And they're going to come here with us one day. Or I know how badly it hurt you to see all of the missed opportunities and to feel that type of regret that you felt in your last moments. I want to give you a second chance. But here's the thing: if I give you your second chance, you're going to have a responsibility to live out your great purpose. I use quotations because that's what he referred to it as, was a great purpose. And I he made the offer, but it didn't necessarily feel like I had a choice. It almost was like there is only one right answer. So ultimately, I made my decision, and after that, Mike slowly backed away and disappeared. And it was just me looking at myself on the operating table again, where I saw the doctors give me the shot that saved my life. And I woke up and I was punching the doctors because I didn't want to come back. I wanted to stay in that place. But like I said, it felt like I had to come back. And, following that experience, and I don't know if we'll get into this or not, but I've had to, I've been forced to kind of align myself now with my new beliefs. Before this experience, I didn't necessarily believe in an afterlife or a God or anything. And after this experience, obviously that has had to change because I can't unsee what I saw or unexperience what I experienced. So I can't say that it hasn't been challenging coming back from that and essentially reinventing myself to align with my new beliefs. But um, I've spent every moment of my life trying to find that purpose that Mike was talking about. And you know, the though it's been painful and challenging to reinvent myself to align with those new beliefs, it's been such a blessing and a beautiful process to get a second chance and, you know, ensure that I never feel that same type of regret again and live my life in such a way that I'm ready to die in every moment kind of thing. So that's pretty much the full extent of the story.
Thanks so much for sharing, Bubba. I'm also class of 2019 when it comes to spiritual experiences. So it's
Incredible.
just 5 years since your experience, and it really sounds like you have so much grounding in it. So I'm wondering if maybe you can share to the people listening, if somebody has recently had a spiritual experience of their own and they found their way to this video, what would you say are some of the tools that they can use to really ground themselves in the awareness of their new reality?
Wow. Yeah, that's a good question. Um, I would say for me, what has helped the most is gratitude. Just and gratitude to the smallest of details, because for me, every day following this experience has been such a challenge, and I've noticed there's always something to be ungrateful for because life is hard. But finding gratitude in the smallest of things has really, really helped me make sense of all of it.
Yeah, thank you for that. So the way that we connected was that you went to the 2024 IANDS conference in person in Phoenix, Arizona. Can you tell me what that was like to be around a bunch of other experiencers?
Yeah, that so that's exactly why I went. I just looked up online near death experience, and that was the first thing that popped up. And for such a long time, I thought that I was alone in these after emotions and the confusion and the kind of the question, why am I here, essentially? And going to this conference really opened my mind to the fact that I wasn't alone. I met so many other experiencers who had gone through the same type of things and had come out on the other side of it. And not only did it make me feel, heard and understood, but also encouraged and inspired because all these people have gone through such tremendous experiences and have come out on the other side of it. So the conference for me was fascinating as well because some of the perspectives that I heard, I had never heard until I went to the conference. Like people were talking about their spiritual experiences and STEs and mediumship. And I had never been exposed to any of that. So it was fascinating to hear all of these very unique stories and perspectives as well.
Very cool. Yes, shameless plug for our conference, which next year will be in Chicago in 2025. So yeah, thank you so much for sharing about the importance of community or just hearing other people share about their own experiences. When for me too, like when I found IANDS and I heard people using language that I was unaware of, but it all fit my own experience so well. It was so affirming. So yeah, thank you for sharing that aspect of your life as well. So, okay, this is like a major life transition for you, right? You went from kind of being like this sports player, maybe not in awareness, no belief, to totally expanded out into belief. What is it like with your relationships, your friendships, any other family relationships in your life? What has that transition been like since you've come into this awareness?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Thanks for asking that. Again, it's been challenging, especially at first because I didn't understand how to express what I was going through. So all of a sudden, I just became this spiritual guy, and I started meditating and I started reading spiritual books and listening to spiritual lectures, and I was like you said, the sports guy. So for my whole life, all of my relationships were built around baseball and the grind, the quote grind, because that's what that lifestyle is about. And there's a lot of value in that, I think. But after this experience, like you said, I just started becoming this aware person, and my relationships definitely suffered at first. My family had a hard time getting to know the quote new me. And my friends, a lot of my friendships were built around the game of baseball. So when I stopped playing, I did lose a lot of friends and coaches and mentors and people that I cared about. But with that said, I have made new friends in a new space of awareness where the connection is deeper and the connection is a lot more real and not so superficial. Not that it was superficial before, but there's a lot more in common now with the people that I have in my life versus before, where it was just surface level, the game of baseball.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I think that that's a big, important part of the spiritual experience as well, is recognizing that some people are going to fade out of your life and new people are going to come into your life. And all of that is totally okay as you transition into new awareness. So, what are some of the other sort of mystical experiences that have presented themselves to you after this, huge awakening happened?
Mm, that's a good question. I don't know if I've ever thought about that. Well, I meditation has really been mystical for me. It has unlocked parts of myself that I didn't know were even there. I don't know if I don't know if I can talk about this or not, but I've also experimented with psilocybin mushrooms, and that has been extremely mystical as well. That has helped me heal a lot of the trauma surrounding this experience. So as far as mystical experiences go, my awareness has just been heightened since this experience. So even conversations like this have been mystical for me. Everyday things have been mystical. I don't know quite how to explain it.
Yeah, I think that's well put. Yes, every second is a spiritual experience once you're in spiritual awareness for sure. Do you maybe want to share about a little bit about your journey with plant medicine and how it healed your trauma?
Yes. Yeah. So there are just some things that I wasn't able to, I guess, unpack or understand or unlock by myself. So I had done a lot of research on the benefits of psilocybin, and I had watched the documentary on Netflix, How to Change Your Mind, and read books and listened to podcasts from neuroscientists, and it just piqued my interest, and I was curious. So I experimented with them at first in a very safe, controlled setting, and what they did for me and what they've done for me is they've allowed me to get deeper into my subconscious. And before this experience, and even without the plant medicine, I don't know if I would have been able to reach those depths. And even in my physiology, like within my body, I've reached things that have just I've been able to release things that I was holding on to that I didn't know I was holding on to because of the depth in which plant medicine has helped me get to.
Thanks for sharing about that. I think that it's really important to share about all different kinds of healing modalities, and IANDS doesn't endorse any particular thing, but I think that it's so important just as experiencers that we share about the other tools that are out there. What kind of led you into that pathway of plant medicine?
Well, I had heard about it from this gentleman named Aubrey Marcus, who has an amazing podcast, and I read his book also. He's a great writer, and he was talking to Aaron Rodgers about ayahuasca, and I had heard about ayahuasca, and I always been curious because so many people were talking about how beneficial it was for them, and I was just stuck in my spiritual growth. I was stuck with where I was in life at the time, and I didn't know how to make sense of any of it. So it was almost just a curiosity. Like all of these people were saying it's helped them. I wonder if it would help me. And luckily I was able to benefit from it. But I'm sure some people maybe it doesn't work for. So but that's how I came across it.
Thank you for sharing that. So I know that you're in the process of writing a book, and
Mhm.
I'm curious if maybe you can share a little bit about what you talk about in the book, the inspiration behind it.
Yeah. So the book is called Becoming Ready to Die. And essentially, the entire book is based off of that feeling of regret that I felt when, I was in my last conscious moments. I wasn't ready to die. And I died full of fear and regret. And there was nothing I could do about it. So I've taken my experience as a baseball player and I understood how to prepare for a game. I understood how to prepare for an opponent. And what's helped me what's helped me prepare for death is using what I learned as a baseball player, the dedication, the hard work, the commitment, and to ensure that I don't ever feel that regret again. So the book is about the book is called Becoming Ready to Die, and it's about my preparation to face my quote opponent of death and how I've done that. And it consists of 12 concepts that I'm still working on, but a few of them include faith, awareness, uh, reclaiming our imagination, healing, practice, showing up to do the work. Um, and basically, I just explain how I've come to the internal state of being ready to die in every moment.
Yes, we don't welcome it unless you want to. Just kidding. I understand. I identify with that so much. I'm wondering, do you have a connection to your spirit guides or or angels, or are there any kind of entities that present themselves to you?
That's a good question. And at the conference, people were asking me that. And I don't know if I know the answers to that because I don't necessarily feel a connection to a specific entity or a specific spirit guide, but I do feel a deep connection with my own intuition and my own awareness. And I still feel like I'm trying to unpack that because I definitely have a heightened awareness, but I don't exactly know that's about all I know about it.
No, I really like that you're sharing that because, yeah, it's not a linear process. It's not like you come back from your experience and now all of a sudden you're a psychic medium. That happens for some people, but it's not this one size fits all for us. A lot of people have a lot of different experiences, which is why it's so great that we have all of this conscious space on the internet to share about our experiences and what we've been exposed to. So, will you tell me about your perspective on death? Like, do you have a fear of death anymore?
Yeah. No, I don't have a fear of death anymore. And that's kind of what inspired, going back to your earlier question, the writing of the book is because I feel as if so many people do fear death. And from what I was told at the conference by so many people, and myself included, a lot of people who have experienced it or have come the closest to it, rather, I've learned that they don't fear death. And I just wondered why. And I feel like it's because the place that I was in, speaking from my own experience, is I feel like it's my real home. So I don't feel as if there's anything to fear because I know that when I'm done here on Earth, I'm going to return home.
Very well said. I love that.
Thanks.
Yes. So is there anything about your near-death experience that you still struggle to understand?
Yes, there certainly is, and there's a few quite a few things. The main thing is just trying to make peace with the fact that even though I feel like I have found my purpose and it is the message that I'm trying to share within my book and my speaking and all of that, there's still this lingering voice in the back of my head that wants to go back because of how peaceful it was, because of how just magnificent I felt. In that other place, there's no voice in my head. There's no hustle and bustle of everyday life. It's just pure perfection and peace. And I still struggle at times to just integrate myself into everyday life and with enthusiasm, with you know uh, gratitude. But that said, it's a yin and a yang because I do love and appreciate being here as well. So, but it's an everyday battle for sure.
Yep, that beautiful spiritual principle of temperance. I love it. Yes, learning how to manage both worlds, definitely.
Yes.
So yeah, I'm wondering, have you faced any challenges in sharing your story with other people? Have you come up against any resistance?
Yes, so much. Even even doing something like this is challenging and scary for me, but I realize that it's in service to other people who may be going through the same type of things that I've gone through or I'm going through. But for the first year, 2 years, I don't know if I told anybody at all. I mentioned it to the doctors after it happened in the emergency room, and I was sedated because they had to bring me back. So they didn't believe me, and I shared it with my parents and my family at first, and we just all, myself included, we just all kind of brushed it off because it's a lot to accept. It's a lot to face. Like, oh my gosh, I just died and saw this incredible thing. So plus I have faced the fear of judgment. I don't necessarily, or I haven't necessarily wanted to share because I was afraid people weren't going to believe me. And I have faced that, but I've gotten over that fear since then.
Thanks for sharing that. I think that's such a real part of this journey too, because there's a lot of fear associated with coming out of the spiritual closet, like fear of being institutionalized, fear of being rejected or abandoned by people that we love. So, yeah, thank you for your courage and your bravery. I know that it's not easy to stand up in your spiritual truth, but it's so worth it. It really, really is. So, thank you for that. And I'm wondering if there's any advice that you would give to somebody who's curious about what happens after we die.
That's a good question. I try to be careful with the word advice because I don't know who am I to give advice, but I would say if there was anything I learned, it's that where we're going, or in my opinion, where we're going when we die is not scary. So there's no point in living our lives afraid. I would say live life and every moment of our life like it's going to be our last. And if we do that until it is our last, we'll have a good life.
Beautiful. I really enjoyed getting to know you and talking with you today. I just want to see if there's anything else that you'd like to share to feel more complete about our time together.
No, I just want to say thank you for letting me do this. This is the first time I've done anything like this in this kind of way. So thank you for the opportunity, and I look forward to meeting you at the conference and getting to know you more.
I think so. I didn't realize this was your spiritual coming out. Oh my God, I'm so excited that I got to be here with you for it. That is literally one of my favorite parts about IANDS letting me do this podcast is holding space for people to come out and make themselves known to this beautiful community that we have online. Thank you so much for your bravery and your courage. And we'll see you next time.
Yeah, thank you.